An American oil and energy crisis is right on the horizon, but why is nobody talking about it? Well, here, check it out. Straight from the American Petroleum Institute President and CEO, Mike Summers.
And that, Maria, is going to start with this administration acknowledging energy reality. The world is going to continue to consume these products. Americans are going to continue to demand these products. They're going to use them in their everyday goods, of course, but also to power their cars and to heat their homes. So the real question is not whether or not we're going to be using oil and gas, but whether we're going to be getting it from the United States, which produces it in the most environmentally responsible way.
Well, the one policy on energy that we've seen out of this administration is selling oil from the strategic reserve. And they've gotten the reserves down to dangerously low levels. We've talked about this before. We're at levels not seen since the 1980s. So what about that? Is that why we're buying or trying to see more oil drilled so that strategic reserve can actually get filled up again? How do you assess the reserve right now?
We're at the lowest levels that we've had in the reserve since 1983. But here's the really scary statistic. We're using 20% more oil today than we used in 1983. Oh. So we need to get that reserve filled back up in case there's a real international crisis. And with as volatile as the world is right now, we know that there could be a crisis right on the horizon.
I mean, seriously, why aren't more mainstream channels talking about this? Now, if you listen to President Joe Biden talk about the U.S. energy situation, you would think that everything was just A-OK. But as it turns out, it is way far from being okay. But let me know what you guys think. Is the government not telling us everything? Are they holding something back? Just drop a quick comment, yes or no, in the comments down below. Now, as for this energy crisis that's about to hit us pretty hard 2023 going into 2024, one of the bad things about it is that it's probably just how unprepared many Americans are for how bad it's going to be. Now, according to the latest Gallup poll, Americans show significantly less concern about the U.S. energy situation now than they did a year ago, with 34% down from 44% describing the situation as very serious. You guys remember 2022? The gas prices back then, right? Well, brace yourselves, guys, because winter 2023 going into 2024, it's shaping up to be a real catastrophe. Yeah, you heard that right, guys. Now, the problem at hand is pretty simple. There just isn't enough fuel to go around, which means electricity prices are skyrocketing. And as if that were not enough, our U.S. energy infrastructure isn't exactly doing us any good. Plus, the rising population in cities is just posing a pretty big threat to different regions across America. The Midwest and the South Central U.S. are most at risk of experiencing electricity shortages in the coming years. Now, according to experts, these shortages, they're most likely to be occurring during peak energy usage times, meaning just when you need that heating, that's probably when it could go out for everybody. But hey, you know me, guys, I am always one step ahead, and I'm always making sure that our financial freedom fam always comes out on top. And so that's why I would like to thank today's sponsor, MCF Energy Limited. They are an energy company focused on identifying, exploring, developing, and producing oil and gas properties. Now, I'm telling you guys now, they're a Canadian company, but they can definitely help out with the energy crisis, especially with their prime location of natural gas properties in the very fertile Pinefield area within the Green River Basin of Wyoming. Plus, MCF Energy, they've got a solid track record. I mean, they started out in 2007 when the Great Recession was just starting. The fact that they're still here and thriving speaks volumes about the company. And here's something that I found out. It turns out that one of their key investors is none other than Frank Guistra, the founder of Lionsgate Entertainment. You know, the studio behind blockbusters like Twilight and John Wick. By the way, did you guys catch John Wick 4? That movie was epic, for sure. But anyways, I digress. Now, aside from the film, Guistra's pretty invested in the mining industry as well, and knowing that they've got a guy like him on board definitely bodes well for the MCF Energy. More on that later, along with what we can probably expect with this looming U.S. energy crisis. You definitely do not want to miss out. So sit back, relax, let's unravel this mystery together. Let's go. Don't you guys find it a little bit ridiculous that the United States even has to worry about oil and energy in the first place? I mean, Canada and the United States, we could probably provide the entire planet's energy for 300 to 400 years with what we have in the books, let alone with further discovery. I don't really see a very good reason as to why we shouldn't be producing cheap energy for the global markets and investing that money back into mineral extraction and the refinement infrastructure. Just my thoughts here, because you know what? As bad as gas prices and the energy crisis was last year, experts say that Americans should brace themselves for winter 2023 through 2024 because it promises to be a real catastrophe. So if you thought things were bad now, you better buckle up for an even rougher ride. Plain and simple, the immediate problem really here is that we're going to be running short of electricity. Now, as a result, prices are probably going to be skyrocketing to unprecedented levels before you know it. The world just isn't getting enough reduced exports of oil, natural gas, and coal from Russia. The US and its allies, they're still sanctioning Russia over their invasion of Ukraine, and that has definitely taken a toll on the fuel supplies, not to mention global fuel reserves. And sure, we may not be reliant on Russian oil here, but see guys, the oil market, it's a global one. When prices rise somewhere, they're going to rise everywhere. While countries like China and India continue to buy discounted products from Russia, overall exports have declined by approximately 18% since February. And that's just one of the factors at play here, guys. The unexpected surge in economic and industrial activities following the C-19 pandemic, refining capacity shortfalls, and inflation, they've all contributed their part to a global imbalance between energy supply and demand. And because most power plants heavily rely on coal, oil, and natural gas, that makes them vulnerable to the ebb and flow of these resources. And so that means utilities are struggling to generate sufficient electricity, leading to the risk of blackouts and burnouts. Let's take a closer look at the situation in Europe, which, despite being in a relatively better position this year, will face pretty dire circumstances moving forward. European natural gas storages are currently over 90% full. Now that's pretty good, especially considering where they were last year. But unfortunately, these reserves alone cannot sustain the entire continent throughout a cold winter, even with the implementation of energy usage reduction policies. Already, the forecast for Europe's energy situation is far from optimistic. Then you have China, the largest energy consumer globally. The country is expected to bounce back from its C-19 slowdown. And so this means that they're going to be revving up their factories and they're going to be taking a bigger bite out of the energy markets, creating additional pressure on already strained supplies. And I don't think that Russia's President Vladimir Putin is going to be resuming energy exports to Europe anytime soon. I think he sees the energy crisis as a means for him to further his agenda. But hey, I feel the same way about most of our politicians. Don't you? So anyway, going back to Europe, because what's going to happen to them could easily happen to us, especially since all of these markets and economies are so tightly tied together. It says here, as Europe enters the winter of 2023, it will have depleted its fuel reserves, making it increasingly challenging to find alternative sources. The competition for resources will drive prices even higher, exacerbating the situation. The United States saw a significant increase in liquefied natural gas or LNG exports, but it's not going to be single-handedly solving the problem of a global energy crisis. Our energy infrastructure and capacity limitations just aren't there yet. Not to mention the import terminals, they're running short too. All in all, LNG distribution is far from effective here in the country. Renewable energy sources such as wind and solar power, they have their own set of limitations too. The widespread adoption of electric heating systems would require substantial time and investment, which makes it very unrealistic as a short-term solution. Nuclear power plants also require pretty long licensing and construction processes. There's promise in biofuels and geothermal heating, but they just don't scale all that well. Plus, time efficiency-wise, they still have a big problem. So you get it. We're facing a major energy crisis later in this year, and things are only going to be getting worse from there. Governments and energy experts, they have their heads together to explore alternative strategies and technologies to meet the increasing demand for energy. Then, of course, you got companies that are already thinking ahead, like MCF Energy Limited. I mean, supply disruptions, skyrocketing energy prices, and a shift away from coal and nuclear power, they created a perfect storm. And the way I see it, MCF Energy is a company to keep an eye on because they could easily ride this wave to success in more ways than one. So first, we talked about the increased demand for natural gas. With Europe looking for cleaner fuel sources, natural gas is in high demand. And luckily for MCF Energy, they're all about exploring for natural gas. They can ramp up their production and become the go-to supplier for all those European customers and businesses that are hungry for this cleaner energy source. And I'm betting that the looming energy crisis is also going to be opening up a whole new world of exploration and production opportunities for MCF Energy. They can set their sights on untapped gas fields in Europe or expand their operations in existing fields. And since Europe is all about reducing its dependence on specific suppliers, MCF Energy could just swoop right in and offer a domestic or regional source of natural gas. That could help Europe diversify its energy sources, its global energy security. And hopefully with Europe covered, the US, or more specifically, the American people, won't need to have to carry that heavy load when it comes to the world's problems. You know what I mean? So yeah, MCF Energy is in the perfect position to capitalize on this impending energy crisis. They can meet the soaring demand for natural gas, explore new reserves, diversify energy sources, and invest in energy infrastructure. So the sponsor of today's video, MCF Energy Limited, is a good name in the business, and they're a company that's really worth checking out. Now, I dropped the link down below in the video description below, but let me tell you the most surprising fact about them that really won me over. Now, one of their key investors is Canadian businessman and philanthropist Frank Guistra, who's definitely well known in the entertainment and mining industries. He was born in August 1957 in Sudbury, Ontario, Canada. He's the founder and former CEO of Lionsgate Entertainment and co-founder of Wheaton River Minerals, which later became part of Gold Corp. And he's also been involved in various other ventures as well. Guistra founded Lionsgate Entertainment. Now, under his leadership, the company grew from a small independent studio to the household name that we know of today. Now, if for some reason you haven't heard of Lionsgate, you probably know about their blockbuster franchises like The Hunger Games, Twilight, and John Wick. And if that were not impressive enough, Guistra also made significant contributions to the mining sector. In 1994, he co-founded Wheaton River Minerals, a Canadian mining company focused on the exploration, development, and production of gold, silver, and other precious metals. Wheaton River Minerals later merged with Gold Corp, creating one of the world's largest gold mining companies. With a visionary like Frank Guistra as a cornerstone investor, MCF Energy is definitely at the forefront of consolidation efforts in Europe. They're seizing the first mover advantage, being the first modern public company to consolidate large-scale exploration opportunities in Western Europe. You see, MCF Energy Limited is all about identifying, exploring, developing, and producing oil and gas properties. Their primary focus? Natural gas properties that are just waiting there in the pretty rich Pinedale Field area within Wyoming's Green River Basin. Now let's go ahead and connect the dots between the looming US energy crisis and MCF Energy's expertise. So first off, MCF Energy is delivering large-scale natural gas exploration solutions for Europe's energy crisis. But what does this have to do with the US, right? Well, the US is also grappling with its own energy challenges, making it a perfect opportunity for MCF Energy to expand its horizons and offer their expertise closer to home. MCF's energy leadership team is no joke either. CEO James Hill, he has an impressive track record in European energy markets, having led exploration for Bankers Petroleum. Oil production grew exponentially under his watch. And let's not forget about co-founder Ford Nicholson, who's also done his part in instrumental roles in creating, managing, and selling large energy companies. These are the minds behind MCF Energy's strategic moves. Then, of course, there's Director Wes Clark, former Supreme Allied Commander Europe of NATO, who, by the way, is adding his expertise to the mix. All three names previously helmed B&K Petroleum, a company that has explored a lot of European countries for energy. And last but not least, MCF Energy's chairman, Jay Park, an esteemed international energy lawyer in his own right, is based in London and Istanbul. This strategic positioning allows MCF Energy to tap into global networks and resources, ensuring that they're well equipped to tackle challenges like the impending US energy crisis. I have to say, guys, I like what I'm seeing here. Now, in terms of strategic acquisitions that could translate to huge cash flows down the line, MCF Energy's acquisition of Genexco GmbH in Germany strengthens their position even further. The Rudnitz prospect, with its confirmed gas accumulation, is just one example of their significant assets that MCF Energy brings to the table. They also have some other prospects in Austria and Germany, so just look at their giant Welschau prospect near the Austrian Alps. It's primed for exploration, being only 18 kilometers away from a pipeline. They found the right elements in place, including source rock, thermal maturity, reservoir, and seal. The potential for a significant gas discovery is real. And of course, we have to talk about sustainability, right? MCF Energy goes above and beyond by harnessing cutting-edge technologies and techniques that prioritize environmental sustainability throughout their operations. They're not afraid to invest in top-of-the-line equipment and adopt best practices to ensure the tiniest environmental footprint possible. They used advanced drilling techniques to map out comprehensive reclamation plans. So basically, they're leaving no stone unturned when it comes comes to restoring and safeguarding the natural environment in and around the project sites. And I especially like how they're pushing the boundaries of energy innovation. Their research and development is way better than the others that I've seen, especially when it comes to exploring cleaner energy alternatives and reducing those greenhouse gas emissions. They're not just about natural gas exploration. Oh no, they've got their sights set on renewable energy too. So there you have it, guys. MCF Energy Limited, with their expertise in natural gas exploration, is well positioned to not only address Europe's energy crisis, but it could also run away with US energy markets as well, considering, how well they could easily tackle the US energy challenges that are coming. Their strategic acquisitions, strong leadership, and impressive track record make them a company to definitely watch out for. To dive deeper into MCF Energy and their groundbreaking initiatives, make sure to click the link in the video description. It'll take you straight to their website where you can explore their different projects and learn more about their team and stay up to date with their latest developments. Anyway, let's go ahead and call it a wrap for today's video, guys. The impending US energy crisis, the world of MCF Energy Limited, and why you should definitely go check them out. I just want to thank you guys so much for watching today. Big thanks for lighting up that like button. I always appreciate you guys' support, and I always appreciate you guys here on the channel. Definitely see you on the next one. Till then, be safe.